And welcome. We are Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Gregory and Clark, attorneys at law, right here in the Orlando area. And we're taking your calls right now at 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696. Those of you at home watching on television, welcome. And the office number right now to call is 321-282-1055. That's 321-282-1055. As you can see, we have a studio full of people today. On your far right, of course, if you're watching on TV, that's Justin Clark, attorney at law and host of this fine show week to week. Also with us today is Lee Honish, and he is here as a very special guest, an expert witness, if you will, since this is a law show. And so we brought him in here for his expertise. He has passed with the bar, and he's got his expertise down, and we know that he's going to be bringing us some valuable information for radio and for television. 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. And Justin, what's on the docket today, bud?
Happy weekend to you as always, pal.
Happy weekend to you. You got the haircut. You got the summer look. You're looking good.
It's 110 degrees outside every day. It's 9 p.m. still. I figured it was time to give a little shave to the head. You know what I mean? It'll grow back.
You look very good, sir.
And Lee might have passed through a few bar rooms before, but he has not passed the bar. He's not a lawyer. Lee is...
No, he's an expert.
Okay.
Expert witness.
I'm so happy to have him here because Lee was one of the first guys to ever do short sales nationwide. He's flown all the way in from Los Angeles for a special seminar that he's hosting later this week, which we'll certainly talk about later. But here's the real reason I wanted Lee here. Guess who he was working for doing short sales? The bank. We got a little inside bank information
again this week
coming to you for the next hour. I'm so excited. Lee, welcome to the program.
Oh, guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually been in a nice studio in so long. It's a pleasure to be here.
And when do you think we'll do that? Just kidding.
Oh, you are spoiled in this studio. You don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. Go on. No, this is a good group.
Yeah, I am the former head loss mitigator for IndyMac Bank's HELOC division. I've got 22 years experience as an asset manager. I did some of the first short sale mitigation on the bank's end. 2007, I taught the very first short sale classes to real estate professionals. Since then, I think it's 600 or 700 seminars on the subject of short sales and loan modifications all over the country.
First question I have right off the bat. A lot of people who are in their car listening right now or at home watching on TV are going to say, you know, I had IndyMac, and then all of a sudden I saw IndyMac / One West. Explain that to me.
Okay, back approximately late 2007, there was, I'm not going to get into the semantics of the politics of how it went down. There was a senator, as I recall, who made some inflammatory comments about the stability of IndyMac Bank, which caused a run. For those of you who don't know, banks don't actually carry their full level of assets. What's that mean in English? The banks carry only a percentage. The Fed only requires them to carry a percentage of what they lend out or what they should have. So if you put $100 in the bank, they're only required to carry a reserve of 10%. So when a run occurs, which we've seen happen historically since 1988, we had Crocker, we had First Interstate. When that run occurs where people get scared and they want their money back, banks go out of business, and it's simple as that. And that literally happened to IndyMac. I went by one day, and there was a big long line of people because somebody made a few inflammatory comments, and I'm not here to judge the legality of that. True asset manager. Always hedge your bets.
Right.
That's what happened. And there was a big long line. People went in to go get their money and put a bank out of business. And it got picked up immediately by a conglomerate that included, allegedly, the same senator, Michael Dell of Dell Computers, I believe. It was a weird conglomeration of people. And I'm not, again, allegedly, I have no idea. I don't want any legal suits against me with an attorney here next to me. That's the way it looked on paper, that there were people who wanted that bank. Things were said. Politics were done. IndyMac is no more.
Let me ask you this, too. So, obviously, there are a lot of people in Florida or your state of California, although I hear California is coming back a little bit. That's the rumor we hear. But Florida is still in a bad spot with a lot of homes in foreclosure or in some stage of default. And I have a lot of people come into my office and say, Justin, this bank, they really messed with me, and I want to get my house for free. And the first thing I say is, you're at the wrong law firm. We don't get houses for free at my place of business. However, it seems like if someone's in default, you have one of two options to try to work something out with the bank. It's a loan modification or a short sale to start with.
Basically.
What are some of the benefits of short sale for the bank's perspective and the homeowner's perspective?
There are additional, I mean, we could go through the long list. You can do a deed in lieu. You can do, there are multiple bankruptcy. I'm not going to shy away from all those things. Here's the thing. It's funny because we were at the Florida Association of Realtors show, and what I discovered was nobody was talking about short sales. Nobody was talking about short sales at that event, and I was actually pretty shocked by it. There was also no marketing for people that were in default as well. So I ran on Realty Track. And for those of you who don't know what that is, Realty Track is just a data provider. I ran the number of less penances and severely delinquent homeowners. There were over 8,000 people in the city of Orlando alone. God. And that's greater than 90 days delinquent. And so to say that the phenomenon, it boggles my imagination that people honestly believe that by missing payments, somehow they are entitled to get their house for free. I'm a banker. I'm telling you this straight up. Your first phone call shouldn't be to the bank. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's the equivalent of, there is no equivalent. Why would you call somebody you owe money to and tell them you don't have the ability to pay? Oh, by the way, would you modify me? You'll just do it, right? Well, I'm going to clear this up. HARP 2, which was a program that was developed about 2 years ago, coincidentally right about the time of an election, was designed to inject money for homeowners with banks in keeping people in their homes for a short period of time. There's a delinquency rate on loan mods where people don't pay on loan mods. The truth is, people don't have jobs, and if there are no jobs, you don't have the ability to pay, and people don't understand this about asset managers. We're well aware of all of this. If you call a bank, you hear those words immediately. This is a matter to collect on a debt. We're going to use this information to our benefit. And so what homeowners do in their desperation is they make these deals, they reaffirm all their information. So now what was once a no-doc loan is now a fully documented situation. Now I can collect on that. I can sell that data. They will pay some money to the bank. That's amazing to me. You didn't pay them before, but now you're going to pay them some money. And believe that they're in a situation where they can stay in their house because people want to believe it and live there forever. That's, that is part of the mentality. And I'm saying this to everybody who's listening, everybody who's watching. Get this really through your head. You don't own your home. That's the dumbest thing on the planet to think you own your home. You don't. Do you own your car? You don't. That's why you have insurance on it. That's why you have insurance on your house. It's very rare. There are 8,000 people in Orlando. It blows my mind. And real estate agents tell me there's no inventory. How is this even possible? These are people that are going to try loan mods, fail, and ultimately become part of the infamous shadow inventory.
Before we get back to short sales, let me discuss the loan modification scenario a little bit further with you because I think we all know that loan modifications are very difficult to do. And really, yes. A loan modification, and we've done thousands of them, at my law firm, and a loan modification is not as much of a negotiation at the end with the bank. In my opinion, the negotiation happens all up front in the essentially underwriting of my client's financials before we send the entire packet to the bank to show that they fit into one of these loan modification categories. Do you think that statement's correct?
Yeah, it's fairly accurate. There are basically two types of loan mod. One is good and one is bad. I'll break it as simple as I can for homeowners, for those watching, for those listening. There are two types of loan mods. One is good and one is bad. The good one is when they do, a full rewrite of the terms where, and this is the thing that nobody gets. You couldn't make an interest-only payment before. Okay? Interest only. That's the lowest payment you can get on a house. Now you come to the bank and say, I want a loan modification. And let's say that all 8,000 of these people in Orlando that we know about, people listening to this show that are delinquent, you all get a loan mod. Here's the big fact. It's going to be 3 to 4% fixed, re-amortized for 30 to 40 years, which in English means you're going to have a higher payment. You couldn't pay what it was before, and now you got a higher payment by $200 or $300 or $400. How do you not go into default again? And why would a bank do it? Well, I got data, I got money, and I just pushed back the inevitable because it is a game. Maybe the market will increase, but with the interest rate the way it is, we've locked the market. And it's funny the way you opened up the show with, California's on the way back. I was at an event in California last 2 months ago where Wells Fargo said, Florida's back.
And
again, I keep saying this. The perception of the real estate market is based on real estate agents. They don't like short sales. They don't like loan mods. They don't like working with homeowners. They've forgotten that meeting people face to face and going, what's your problem and how do I help you? Instead of how do I sell to you?
Yeah. Let me explain a little bit about how we see loan modifications and what we've seen here in Florida especially. In 2006, obviously, you needed a pen and a pulse, basically, to get a mortgage. So all of my clients got a mortgage. They have 2 kids that walk to school. They love their house. They want to stay in their house. However, now their neighbor has done a short sale. So their new neighbor owes $100,000 on the house at a 3% interest rate, and my client owes $300,000 on the house and is at a 7% interest rate. So a lot of my clients, too, when the housing market declined, a lot of people work in construction in the state, and they literally lost their jobs or they lost half of their income and couldn't afford their payment. But now they're back on their feet. But they couldn't pay the mortgage because they simply had no income coming in, and they had to choose to feed their family instead of paying their mortgage payment. Now they're in some stage of foreclosure, but do want to keep the house. And on the other side of this break, I want you to tell me if the banks have any interest in helping my clients save their home, the ones who want to stay there.
All right, that's coming up during the break. If you want to chime in on the conversation, we have certainly a man here who has been in here as a pioneer. Albeit on one side of the situation, but a pioneer in seeing how all this comes to fruition and really opening some eyes in Central Florida today with his comments, because he's putting it on the line for you folks. 855-297-9696. How do the financial institutions feel about you asking for a modification, and how is it working out on paying them back? Are people doing it? We'll find out. Now, we promised a very good friend of ours, and that is Robert Palmer of RP Funding, who can get you into a home with no fees and the lowest interest rates in the business, which means hopefully you can hold on to your home, you'll make the payments, and everything will be fine, and you won't have to listen to talks about short sales, foreclosures, and modifications. All right? Let's work it out that way. He has a new service. The service was put together by Robert Palmer himself and real estate professionals active in the Central Florida market. These are people who go out and set the price of the house you're going to sell or buy. All right? Now, Robert has a new line. He's paying all the expenses. And if you want to know what your house is worth today, with about a 17% increase in the average price of a home in the past 8 months in Central Florida, maybe you've got some equity. Maybe you didn't even know it. Call this number, 866-222-8231. That is the new home value helpline from RP Funding and our real estate community. That's 866-222-8231. Call that number. We'll be right back with more of Behind the Law with Justin Clark and our very special guest, all coming up right here. Welcome back to the show. Yes, indeed. We've got about 6 minutes before a break, and you're Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark. And Gregory and Clark taking calls right now on the air at 855-297-9696. 855-297-9696. You're on News 96.5. You're also watching on WRDQ TV 27. We're on every Saturday morning at 8:30, right after our good friend Robert Palmer. If you'd like to call the office right now, they'll field your call at 321-282-1055. That's for off radio calls, 321-282-1055. And I understand that our very special guest, Lee, has a program coming up right here in Central Florida.
You know, I'm pretty excited about it because I'm going to be there speaking as well. I think Friday morning at 9 p.m. And in fact, Robert Palmer is going to be speaking Friday at 4 p.m. Lee, what are we speaking at?
It's called the Orlando Short Sale Summit. It's our third event. We started in Las Vegas. We started the short sale convention there back in March, and people said, well, you're not going to draw. Short sales are over. And we got a couple hundred people. Then 3 months later, we did it again in Anaheim. Well, it was too close to the first one. You're never going to get anybody to show up. We turned people away from that one. Now we're in Florida, and once again, real estate agents are under the mindset that short sales are over. It was a little slow. Now there are a few hundred registered at this moment.
Wow.
Yeah, I might have to do a little bit of work at the last
Lee,
minute.
you know, I was asking another program just the other day on this very same radio station. I said, you know, you would think that there are 0 foreclosures going on,
right,
and 0 short sales, because all of a sudden the news in Orlando turned to a couple of high-profile trials,
yep, and
nationally everybody is losing their mind over Egypt. So all of a sudden, we're not talking about this anymore. The economy isn't talking about it. We're not talking about short sales. We had some home improvement and values. And if you ask the average man on the street and you said, hey, there's a short sale seminar coming up, and they'd go, oh, that's so last year. That's so yesterday's news.
Right.
We still got a crisis in Central Florida.
I literally.
What did you say, 9,000?
8,000. Well, I only was able to pull up 8,000.
Oh,
I'm sure
sorry.
it was a greater number than that. But those are 8,000 people that are going to have only 2 options. You either cure it, okay, that means pay current or pay off, or modify it in some way, or you transfer the title back to the bank or to a new homeowner. So that's 8,000 people in the city of Orlando. So on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're doing our third one. It's the first time I've actually spoken in Florida in quite some time. If you're a real estate agent listening, or you're in this line of work, period, I don't care if you're an attorney, I don't care if you're a closer, I don't care what your line of work is, people are talking about no inventory. That's the big deal, right? My focus is, I know 8,000 people. How do I put you in front of 8,000 people? And then I'm going to put the experts up, just like you. And you guys go do what you do. Take away the short sale and the mystique of all the loan mods and all the short sale. I'm happy to talk about those things. But as of late, the thing that's really important is there's inventory out there. But because the market perception is dictated by real estate agents,
right,
we were talking about this earlier, people believe what they believe because of real estate agents. There's a million of them. And if they believe that short sales are gone, therefore they're gone. That's not true. The data dictates that there are 8,000 people. There were 33,000 notice of sales or auctions set from month to month. That's still happening nationally. Okay, these numbers haven't changed. So the goal here at this event, as with all of our events, is number one, for real estate agents, we're going to help you find properties. And if you're a homeowner, I'd tell you to show up at 5 o'clock every day. At the end of the day, we're going to have a bunch of people there. We will be there. You'll be there. We'll network. We'll meet with homeowners if they want to come to that. And we will help you. That's our goal. It's to help.
Super important question. Do I have to wear a suit?
Not even close.
Oh, thank you.
Where is
Thank you.
this?
I was so worried.
It's going to be at the Radisson.
A suit.
Not even
Oh,
close.
thank you.
Where is
Thank you.
this?
I was so worried.
It's going to be at the Radisson on iDrive, which is now the Allure, but the Radisson signs are still up. And I apologize to everybody who's going to this event. Yes, it's smack dab in the middle of iDrive, and it's going to be there at 5 o'clock, and you're going to be stuck in that traffic. But the value you're going to get out of it is mind-blowing. All you have to do is go to my website, Honish.com, Honish.com. Right at the top, there's an Eventbrite link. Click on it. Put in the offer code LEEHONISH, LEEHONISH, and we'll knock 50% off of whatever. So you're going for $50 for 2.5 days.
On the other side of this break, I'm going to ask you a question. And we're going to get back to the short sale stuff as well. But I'm going to ask you a question. 2 and 3 years ago, when banks were doing trial loan modifications, and they said it's a 3-month trial period, why did this trial period last a year? On the other
We'll
side
talk
of this
about
break.
that. Also, when we come back, we have Chris and we have Rand for our radio audience. If you were listening last hour, Rand had a very interesting question about trying to sell a property, but he's wondering about the deficiency. And we'll get our good friend Justin Clark and Lee Honish to chime in on that. Give us a call 855-297-9696. Welcome back to Behind the Law, featuring Justin Clark of Gregory and Clark Attorneys at Law. Their offices are in Longwood, and we'll get to that location coming up. And we'll get to the website. The phone number at the office is 321-282-1055. That's 321-282-1055. And if you want to call the radio show, 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. And we are discussing foreclosures, short sales, modifications, but we have a really special guest with us today who's giving us a very interesting look at this from the other side of the coin, looking at it from how do banks look at modifications? What's in it for them, and what's their eventual strategy? And what about all these short sales in Central Florida we're not hearing about anymore? Are there still some out there? Well, they number in the thousands. Lee Honish is with us. But back to attorney Justin Clark.
Last loan mod question. I almost promised. I hope I promised. I hope I'm promising.
Many of them, actually. Okay. I think they are a phenomenal scam.
Okay. Why did back a couple years ago, and to be honest, I don't really see this happen anymore. When someone does a loan modification, normally they make a 3-month trial payment, which I'm totally okay with. Now I find in my practice that once we make those 3 payments, the loan mod is locked in. However, I can't tell you how different it was a couple of years ago. When my client would get a 3-month trial payment, I would say, don't get too excited because we're going to have to go through this whole process again. In fact, you're probably going to pay for 12 months. I don't know if you had a similar experience, but why did they make it so complicated for us back then?
Okay, let's start with the basics. And I don't care if it's HARP or it's HAMP. Understand this, it's only got about a 15 to 20% success rate. I mean, that's the bottom line to it. The people that really get modified are always going to be people who make their payment that are just simply underwater. The mortgage is higher than what's owed on the property. And those are the people who win that game. The next thing to take into account, and I'm talking in general, and it's my perspective on the market, I think loan mods in general are a scam. Banks know full well you didn't make the payments before. Who in their right mind would lend money or reaffirm a loan with somebody who doesn't make their payments? You can tell me all day long that you got a job, but why would I do it? Okay, so let's talk about it. You have a non-documented loan, right? That non-documented loan is now into default. So my first goal is to see if I can get more information, right? Makes collection easier. Number 2, if I get some money in that 90-day trial period, and this is the small print on trial loan mods that everybody really doesn't understand. If you got a countrywide, in my opinion, you should do a short sale and just get it over with. Nobody wants that file sitting around. B of A doesn't want it sitting around. Nobody wants it sitting around. And with these 80, 20, 105, 110, 115% financed houses, it's such bad debt that we put them into these trial periods where, again, we're doing spreader theory. We're pushing it back and trying to deal with it tomorrow. So we'll get some money. We got new information. But ultimately, we know 85% of these people are going to go into default again. So you are actually making it a little more manageable from a banking perspective. And that's why I say they're a scam. I'm not saying that they're doing anything unlawful. There are real loan mods out there. I have seen people get principal reductions. It does occur. It's just, for those of you listening, it's not you. Okay, that's reality. I mean, I can say that statistically and mathematically.
Okay, I lied. Last question. So the obvious question that I think my client has is, okay, I owe you, said bank, whoever, $400,000. I have a good job now. I'm willing to pay a regular interest rate. Why would you rather short sale this property to someone else for $200,000 when I'm willing to pay you $400,000?
Yeah, right. Again, it is dictated by what the market carries, right? So if I look at a house that is in that situation, why should I short sell it? Well, if your neighbor next door is leasing a house for $1,200 and your cheapest payment was $1,300, this is simple math and simple carry. And again, you're never going to, like, the statistical likelihood of anybody really owning their house in this lifetime is impossible. I mean, it's 1 out of 100. So again, why are you, it's an emotional thing. Why are you so attached to this loan mod? Why are you so attached to this house?
If you're on hold, I promise we're getting to you right away. But we're going to change gears here a little bit, okay? Now, here's my concern, though. Is I have a client, let's say, who knows they want to live in their house for another 2 years, right? They're underwater now. A short sale now is a possibility.
Very much so.
But I'm afraid in 2 years, they're still not going to be, their house isn't going to be worth enough to where they can sell it, pay a realtor, pay closing costs, and pay it off still. But I'm not so sure you're going to be able to do short sales 2 years from now. How do you feel about that?
I'm all for it. And here's what, look, the market is frozen because of a couple of things. And I'm not going to get into big explanations about the Fed and the rate hike that's caused the buyer freeze. I think what's really important for people to understand, if the banks don't want to do a short sale, they don't have to do a short sale. They can just foreclose. They don't have to do loan mods. They do it because it's to their benefit, not yours, because 85% are still going to go sideways. Here's what I say to everybody out there. There's still 1 million homes that could be put onto the market overnight. That would kill the market. The rate could go up even higher, which they're talking about. That could kill the market. If you have an opportunity now, and this is the funny part, you were talking about the perception of the market. Mm-hmm. What's the old term? Strategic default, right? That it's illegal. You're going to go to jail as an attorney, me as a trainer, you as a real estate agent. Now, you want to sell your house and you're just underwater? They'll do it all day long. And you know this in your own office. They'll do it all day long.
Right.
Take advantage of it.
Chris in Maitland, sorry you had to wait so long. Hope you have your charger with you today. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yes, I don't know if you guys can answer this question for me, but I own my house free and clear. It was left to me, and both me and my wife have poor credit, but we're trying to get some kind of equity loan out of it to consolidate our debt and and make improvements on the home. Do I have any options?
Absolutely. I mean, if you own your house free and clear, obviously it's going to be a credit rating decision for you, and you have a lot of equity there. So I don't see how a company like RP Funding would not be able to give you some type of loan. Lee, what would be the holdup of getting this guy a loan?
There really wouldn't be. I mean, truthfully, a HELOC or any of those programs are based on the current equity in your property. As somebody who actually ran a HELOC division, remember a home equity line is based on the amount of credit based on the house's equity. So if there's any equity at all, trust me, there's somebody out there who will make that loan. I would guarantee that RP Funding would be able to find that source.
What is the new hotline for RP Funding?
RP has a great hotline for you right there listening to the radio, any of you. And if you're thinking about where your home is in the market right now, and you hear all these real estate shows lately, and they're all talking about 17, 18, 19, 20% increase in the value of homes over the past year in Central Florida. Well, how real is that in your neighborhood? I'm not sure, but we do have realtors out there that are selling houses every day. They're watching the situation right here in your backyard, and they've teamed up with Robert Palmer. He stepped out there and said, we've got to establish something beyond these websites that have who knows what kind of criteria to come up with the price of your home. Zillow being one of them. What is their criteria? How do you know you can depend on it? So Robert put together local real estate professionals. They have band together to help him at his expense. He's giving you 866-222-8231. That is a new hotline, the Home Value Helpline, 866-222-8231. Use that number and see what your home is valued at, especially if you own the thing outright, Chris. You got it made. Now, Rand has a question for you, attorney, because he called last hour. Now, Rand, give us a Reader's Digest of your situation. You're back in a home. You're going to sell a home at a loss, and you're afraid they're going to come after your Florida property, which is your homestead. Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead, and you're going to ask these guys what's going to happen. What is that bank going to do? We've got a bank perspective who's right here. Tie you to the railroad track. Yeah. And then we've got Justin. Go ahead and give us your scenario, bud.
Okay. My wife first purchased a house back in 2007 in New York, which went into loan modification, which we defaulted on eventually. But in between that time, I purchased 2 homes in Florida cash. The house was so upside down in New York that we went to sell it, but we got no buyers. And so we got renters in there now. Just as the renters came in, the bank came and said, we're going to, the loan modification was through a bankruptcy, and they said they're defaulting the bankruptcy. They're overturning that. So I imagine the bank's right behind them with the foreclosure proceedings on the house there. But I own 2 houses here in Florida cash with her name on these homes in Florida. So I'm wondering, I have no idea what way to go, which way to turn.
Hi, Rand. This is Lee. Since I don't work for a bank, I'm going to help you out here.
Anymore.
Nor will they probably ever have me back.
Never.
So, I mean, they're not, in general. And again, why would they? Okay, so Justin, can I legally hide assets?
No. I mean, what do you mean? Can you?
Well, okay, let's say, and here's what I'm kind of leading you to. Can I put those properties into a trust and protect them?
Absolutely.
And the banks can't touch those, can they?
Correct.
Then I'm going to do a short sale on the other properties, correct?
Correct.
Why aren't you calling the law office right now? There's a big plug for you.
Thanks very
Just
much.
like an expert from a bank. A bank can't touch anything inside of a trust no matter what they tell you. Okay? There are ways to legally protect your assets.
So the homes in Florida, which are outright cash buys, he can put in a trust.
Absolutely.
There are ways, when you're doing a short sale, Rob, when you do a short sale on any home, it's not like a process where you just call the bank and say, hey, bank, I've got an offer. Is it cool? Can we just, be done with this? A short sale is a real process where we have to gather all of their financial documentation, and ideally you send it in one big stack all at once, and you have it perfectly underwritten to make it easy for the bank personnel to review it and see everything that they need to do, because they're really answering to someone else above them as well, whether it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever.
Absolutely.
And you have to, you want to look a certain way. You don't want to look like a multimillionaire and then ask the bank to take a hit.
Why would you show a bank? This is and you love this one. This is one of my favorites. I've looked at literally thousands of files, and I've done thousands of negotiations on HELOCs with first and second, certainly on the bank's perspective. People who submit their entire tax return, when it clearly states we only want the first 2 pages, you tell a bank you have a 401k, you get what you get. Okay. Now, can I collect on it? Legally, no. Can I pressure you to give it to me? Of course I can. I'm not going to do this unless I get a cash contribution. That's why it's so imperative to have qualified people do the short sale or to help you or give you advice. Again, we talked about the short sale summit that we have coming up. One of the big things we do there is make sure that people understand about advocacy for homeowners. It's a lost art of knowing all your alternatives. That's why we're having you. That's why all the people that speak there. It's not an upsell event. It's not an event to try to and I tell homeowners, certainly show up. At least you'll get a better understanding of what's going on.
All right, we're going to take a break. Andy, we're going to get with you when we come back. If you have questions for the radio, 855-297-9696. You want to call the law offices right now, 321-282-1055. We're Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Welcome back. Final segment of the show, but we've got so much more to talk about. I tell you what, we may have to have Lee back. What a great in-your-face guest, because I tell you what, he's kind of put it on the line for a lot of folks that have been watching this and going, short sale, I got no problem. I'll be in this house for the rest of my life, and my kids too.
I didn't know Lee before today, but when I first talked to him last night, I said, maybe come in for the second half hour, because I don't know him. I didn't know how long I could have done 8 hours with you today.
We could do 8 hours.
We could have this go as another show. This is some great stuff, because we're really getting the insight as to what they're looking at in the boardroom behind closed doors, as they're looking at the whole constabulary out here with your home and all these homes and going, all right, we know what the White House is saying. We know what the Congress is saying. We know what the news guys are saying. But here's what we are saying, and we control the dollars. This is fun stuff.
Yeah, it's honest. When you say something like that and they say, well, unemployment's dropped by 300,000 people. No, that just means they stopped collecting on their benefits. Okay, it doesn't mean they found jobs. They didn't just magically appear. Disney hasn't, the project here in Orlando, the $1.1 billion. They haven't started that construction project yet. They haven't started funding all that building yet. So where are these magical jobs coming from? You got to have some way to pay for this stuff.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's go to Andy in Orlando. Andy, you've been holding for a long time. We really want to get your call on the air, so go ahead.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I did a short sale on my home, and I want to know how long I need to wait before I can buy another home. And then my bank, they reported my short sale on my credit. I went to buy a car, and they told me that it was showing up as a foreclosure.
Okay. Let's go through it, Andy. Number one, it sounds like you were delinquent when you did the short sale. There are two types of short sales, right? You're current and you do a short sale, or you're delinquent and you do a short sale. First of all, you shouldn't have the words foreclosure on your credit. You should have paid less than agreed or settled for less than full. And it's, again, another topic that's going to come up at the event. We're going to have credit experts from United Credit Education Services, UCES-.org. They'll be there to train real estate agents on this. This is really important. You can buy, if you're current, you can buy the very next day with the right funding. There are programs out there. You do it just because you're underwater doesn't mean you can't buy another house. That's number one. If you're delinquent, the very worst it's going to be is 2 years on your credit. It's 0 to 200 points. There is no set formula, but it shouldn't be marked as a foreclosure. It should be settled for less than agreed, settled for less than full. But again, why you need to use a competent attorney and great credit cleaning on top of it.
I think there's a huge distinction when you do a short sale, when it just says debt settled for less than amount due on your credit rating, as opposed to that foreclosure in the judgment section. And that's one of the main reasons to do a short sale, other than get out from under that deficiency, is to make sure you can buy another property within 2 years. And that's the biggest difference in the world from having foreclosure stuck down there, labeled for a long time, as opposed to it just saying debt settled for less than amount due.
I cannot stress this enough. This is the greatest country in the world, okay? No family member would let you flake for $200,000 or $300,000 on them. And this is a fact, and it's already happened in this market. I owe Wells Fargo $500,000. I settle for $200,000. The very 2 years later, while being delinquent, the right credit terms, I can go back and they'll lend me money again. Is this a great country or what?
Amen.
I mean, Don King had it correct. Who would do that? You wouldn't do that for a family member.
Amen to that. All right, very cool. So tell us more. Now, how do they sign up for the forum? It's going to be at the Radisson, which is changing in names to the Allure. Probably the day you do this, the new sign's going to come up, and everybody's going to show up at the Rosen thinking Radisson. That doesn't work. Okay, Radisson. Allure.
8444 South International Drive, smack dab in the middle of International Drive. And again, I apologize, but it's a great space. Got plenty of seats. Go to honish.com, HONISH.com. Right at the top, you'll see an Eventbrite link. Click on the link. Type in, there's an offer code. I'll even get you in at 50% off. Use the word leehonish, Leehonish, and I'll get you in there. 2.5 days of training. Some of the best minds from across the country. I'm going to focus. I'm going to stay away from the attorneys and all the guys who do closings all day long. I've got you and David, guys who do nothing but close short sales. I'm avoiding that one, even though I think I know more than them. But that's just me.
There we go.
I'm going to focus on how to get real estate people, including investors. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
Deals. Let's go get the 8,000. They're sitting out there. If you're a real estate agent and you are just into being average and getting those 6 listings per year, somebody's got to slap you and wake you up. There's 8,000 deals out there.
Thanks for being here, Lee.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. We'll see you Friday morning.
Your website, Justin.
Gregory-Clark.com, 321-282-1055. Rob Newton, a pleasure as always.
Always good to see you. See y'all next week right here.